Hi, everybody. It's meteorologist Joe Chaffee on this Friday as we take a look at what's happening. And actually, very interesting weather map this morning because we have gone from a pattern where there was absolutely nothing going on. I mean, we had a couple of days last week where there wasn't a drop of precip falling anywhere in the United States from coast to coast and from the Canadian border to the Mexican border. And that was unusual. Now we've suddenly, out of nowhere, but models were showing this, we've got two storms on the map, and they're both having different kinds of impact. The first one is the one that's on in the Midwest at the moment with low pressure that is moving through northeastern Iowa and heading into Wisconsin, and that's producing some big snows. We have blizzard warnings up for parts of northeastern South Dakota, southwestern Minnesota, and you can see the isobars here, these yellow lines that turn into green and bluish lines. These are lines of equal pressure, and they depict the circulation of the system, and of course it's counterclockwise around lows, clockwise around highs. The tighter these lines are together, the tighter the pressure gradient is, and the tighter the pressure gradient is, the stronger the winds. So you're getting these north and northwest winds. These are sustained winds at 25 to 30 knots on the western side of the low. Ahead of it, temperatures are in the 60s and 70s this morning across much of the Tennessee Valley and toward the mid-Atlantic coast, while we have temperatures behind it falling down through the 30s and 20s and even a few teens showing up when you get back up into the Rockies. So this is, how it works. And now, to another extent, we're going to go to this storm that's sitting east-southeast of Cape Cod, that's sitting out in the Atlantic Ocean, that's not going anywhere, and that is having impact as well. If you look at the satellite, very impressive, this low. It's got a really, really tight circulation on the visible satellite this morning. But what's happening is this storm is, by not moving, the dry air that gets evacuated out from that storm sinks along the East Coast. And that sinking air just dries out even more. So we have virtually cloud-free conditions from the southern half of Maine all the way down into central Florida and almost as far west, although not quite west, down to the Mississippi River, because that's where you get into the second storm here. Equally impressive in a different sort of way, because this one is producing the big snows in some areas. And there's the cold front. So this system is kind of causing this one to move slower than it otherwise would. But eventually, this is going to get out of the way. Let's look at the radar view, and you can see that the signature on the radar, when it looks like a comma, that is usually a sign of some rather strong intensity. So right back through here, we're getting these heavy snows, and you can see it's lifting up to the northeast. Ahead of it, where you see the yellows and reds, that's heavy rains and some thunderstorms as well. And those are lifting up northeastward into the warmer air. So the rain-snow line probably runs something like, I probably just could draw it in for you. The rain-snow line is probably something like that. And all of this is moderate to heavy snow right in there. Okay? And here, this area here, that's where we have what looks like some, there we go. Okay, it's being evil on me. Those touch-sensitive screens are sometimes a little difficult. But you have some heavy rains going on over in that area. Now, where the front is, there are a few showers, but nothing really overly impressive. So we're going to see what happens as this approaches the East Coast. And as far as the models are concerned, there really hasn't been too much change. I'll show you a couple of different models. So here's the GFS model. And as we move into Saturday, I think for the East, much of the day tomorrow, the rest of today certainly, and much of the day tomorrow should be perfectly fine, because we're still in this bit of a sweet spot that you can see. Here's the ocean storm. So you've got all this dry air that's coming in this way, and because of it, the atmosphere just is so dry that normally these types of storms in the Midwest, you have this trailing cold front. Normally it would be picking up Gulf moisture, but it's just non-existent. And one of the things I've noticed throughout this whole drought pattern that we've been in for quite a while, there seems to be a boilerplate over the Gulf of Mexico, because we're not seeing the usual types of systems that you get inflow from the Gulf. That doesn't seem to be happening, and that, of course, is a big problem for this area in here in the southeast, because that spells drought for that area. And they've been having all the fires, which a good soaking rainstorm is absolutely required. Now the front comes through Saturday evening. There'll be some showers with it after the front goes by, and some snow showers. You can see the lake effect machine gets turned on as we move into Monday and Monday night. Now, some models are being a little more bullish with regards to what's going to be produced behind it. I'll show you the NAM for today. And actually, I want to be, I tell people that you look at the NAM model to be a little careful, because the NAM a lot of times tends to show these are supposed to be simulated radar echoes, and a lot of times it tends to overdo it. But at the same time, judging from what's going on synoptically and meteorologically speaking aloft, I could see the possibility that there could be some snow showers all the way down to the coast. I've included them in my own personal forecast for the weekend. And then that gradually, we're now into Monday evening. It still has it. The GFS is far less bullish with this, but I think it's worth probably mentioning. You can also see the beginnings of the next system that's going to be coming out of the Rockies, and I want to take a look at that for you folks out there because I don't want to leave you out. Such a nice audience on YouTube, and I want to try and get to everybody whenever I can. But let me try and get to the west. I think the west view will probably be better here. So here's the NAM with the next weather system for early next week, and we'll see it come in to the Pacific Northwest, which is getting, it's going to get a fairly decent shot of rain tonight, with snows in the higher elevations going eastward, and that rain actually even gets into parts of Southern California for a change. But a lot of rain with higher mountain snows in Utah, Nevada, and into Wyoming, and even Colorado gets some rain and snow out of this. I don't know how. Again, I said this yesterday. I have not had a lot of forecasting experience with regards to the West, and I don't know the terrain, so it's a little bit difficult for me. I can read off what the models have, but I can't really do a good interpretation of what it may actually mean from a practical level. That's why it's so important for a forecaster where he lives. He knows his climatology, he knows his area, and I'm sure the local forecasters here would agree with me. And they will do a far better job than I ever could. In the meantime, I can show you that there's some decent rain that gets out of this. So let's hope so, because this is also another area that's extremely dry. This is the system that's going to head to the East Coast for Thanksgiving Day, and I'm going to just show you the GFS going forward with that, because that'll be a better view. I mean, it'll certainly take us out far enough. And you can see how it moves eastward and spreads now rain into Iowa, Missouri, and snow up into Minnesota. So we'll look now at the eastern view and carry it from there. This is the last night's model. I don't have the new models. I had to do the video a little earlier today than usual. Here we go. So load, please. It's being evil on me. Sorry about that. Let me back it up. Okay, so here we are. And you can see here's the low that comes out, heads up to the Great Lakes, then starts to stretch and then redevelops. And this is because of the fact that the North Atlantic oscillation, the blocking situation that we have developing in the atmosphere, this system is going to want to go northeast, but it's only going to be able to get so far, and then it redevelops along the coast. So this brings rain here actually Wednesday night, with some snows in upstate New York and up into Vermont and southern New Hampshire, and then it goes over to rain. Now, this might be a warmer solution than what reality will dictate. So we'll see what happens when today's day runs come out, when we look at the European model run. And someone asked me yesterday, which is a very good question, because we've been talking about it a lot. And what exactly is blocking? And I'll illustrate it for you here. I'm going to widen out and take you back just a little bit. Normal tendency for weather systems, if you watch, anytime you loop these upper air, everything likes to move from west to east, okay? And then when they come into the United States, in general, and there's a natural tendency for systems to, lift up northeastward into eastern Canada, and you can see it there, what happens when it tries to do that. But when you have blocking, and in the instance right now with this low that's sitting off the Atlantic coast, in effect, what that's doing by not moving. That's basically what it is. Something in the atmosphere stops moving, which kind of creates a logjam for everything else down the road. So this system normally would have lifted up and out already, but it hasn't been able to because this is in the way. Now, it winds up disappearing, and gradually the system to the west wins out, and then it begins that normal progression again. But when we have a blocking pattern, what really happens is the high latitudes up here near the poles, you have higher pressures there, and all the cold air gets displaced southward. So, relatively speaking. And that's another thing I want to address here, because I've been trying to be very clear about the fact that the pattern change is trying to accomplish two things. One is, and the most important thing, is to get a more active pattern for precipitation in whatever form, albeit rain or snow, because of the drought situation. And that has been, seems to be happening. We're starting to see more and more weather systems moving across the country, and the pattern is active. The second part of the equation, which I know all the snow lovers want to get into, is the cold part of it, and that's going to be that's going to take more time, mainly because we are going to get colder over time, and you can see it here as we look at the temperatures below normal, above normal over time. We kind of go in and out here in the east, which is understandable, but we're not seeing anymore that sort of endless couple of weeks of sitting in above normal temperatures, and gradually below normal temperatures take hold. It takes more time. Canada's got issues with regards to the jet stream flow, and that's keeping temperatures well above normal there. The other thing is the time of year. We're still in the middle part of November. So when you're 10 degrees below normal in the New York City area, for example, which is a sizable departure from normal, when you're 10 degrees below normal this time of year, you're still talking about daytime highs in the low to mid 40s. The normal here is low to mid 50s. So you would have to have a really supercharged early Arctic flow to have anything colder than that. So snow lovers are already getting upset, and this is the middle of November. The blocking pattern a month from now will be very bullish for snow, in my view. But we still have to work down the averages, which drop another 15 degrees between now and the end of December, when the average high is in the upper 30s. So you're going from low to mid 50s to upper 30s in the next 6 weeks. So just from normal. So you want to translate this pattern to the end of December, then you are likely to get some chances for snow, which is when it would normally occur anyway. To see something this time of year is, for the area that I cover, which is New Jersey, Eastern Pennsylvania, southern New England, the Hudson Valley, and Long Island. Statistically, it doesn't happen very often. Every 10 years you get something, and that's it. So there's nothing from that standpoint to come to any conclusions based on what's happening now and what's going to happen for the entire winter season. The blocking pattern signature would suggest that we are going to have an active December. For you snow lovers, you'll get chances for snow. In the west, the blocking pattern is going to be a change too, because you're getting systems starting to come in from the Pacific. So I think that's going to give you some more chances for rain and snow, depending on temperatures. And we'll see how it plays out. So anyway, let's finish off here. Have a great rest of your Friday and a good weekend. And don't forget, I always tell you this, and I want to remind you, websites, meteorologistjoechaffee.com, weatherlongisland.com, nycweathernow.com, ssstormchasers.com. And once again, I want to thank all of you for being with me and watching my videos. I've gotten a real thrill out of putting up videos on YouTube, and I'm really really happy. I love the conversation. I love the interaction that you guys are doing, leaving me comments. And I appreciate the honesty. I try to answer as much as I can. Sometimes my regular job keeps me from getting to comments right away, but I do try to get to them eventually. So again, thank you so much for being here, and we will of course be with you over the weekend as we watch the developments for Thanksgiving week.